All right, welcome in everyone. This is Yard Down Productions. I'm your host Bumper. Today we got a special guest, Tyler Ryals, former GDC correctional officer. He was boots on the ground there, and he's going to talk about some of the failings of that system and why it's in crisis and why it has some of the highest rates of violence in the nation. The Department of Justice did an interview from 2018 to 2023, and their findings were horrific. I believe there was 142 homicides in that period, with 48 between 2018 and 2020. 94, an uptick of 95.8% of 94 homicides from 2021 to 2023. And in 2019, homicide in the Georgia Department of Corrections was 3 times the national average and has since increased threefold. That is crazy, man. And in Smith State Prison in Georgia, the COs found a guy who had been murdered by a cellie, strangled, and the body was in a state of decomposition. So he had been there for like 2 days, and they didn't even know this guy was dead. Anyways, Tyler, that's just a background of what's going on. The Department of Justice has looked into this system. They have found it in crisis and know that there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, yet nothing's being done. Tyler here is an advocate trying to push for reform in Georgia and get it to where it's safe for the staff and the inmates at these institutions. Tyler, if you don't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself. Give a little background of your upbringing, what caused you to become a correctional officer, and just, tell us a little bit about yourself. But
Okay. Well, I'm about to turn 30, so I've been here since 1996. I was born and raised right in Dublin, Georgia. East Dublin's where I grew up. And I mean, I just had a normal, what I would say normal as far as for lower middle class upbringing. Went to public school, the same one my whole life. And my original plans coming out of school was to go to enlist in the Marine Corps. Okay. So my junior year of high school, I made that decision. And then my senior year, I was in what they called the Pooley program back then. I don't know if they still do it now. And it's like a pre-enlistment program for people trying to enter the Marine Corps. So immediately after I graduated, I went to MEPS to sign my enlistment and everything and go into Marine Corps. But when I was at MEPS is when I took the hearing test, and it came back that I had some hearing loss in my left ear. So that caused them to, because of their standards in 2014 were a lot harder to get in the military than it is like right now. But anyway, they denied me to enlist because of the hearing loss. From what the doctor said at MEPS, I should have been able to get in with a waiver, but I put that waiver in and it got rejected. So here I am. I'm like 2 months out of high school. I'm rejected from going to the Marine Corps. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I go to the Department of Labor that next week, and that was like the first thing that came up on the on the computer when I logged in was correctional officer at Telfair State Prison. And they were making like 12, a little over $12 an hour at that time was what it averaged out to. It was like 24,000 a year. And I had another opportunity at a Fred's. I don't know if y'all probably don't have those. Like where you're from.
grocery store?
No, it was like almost like a Walmart type thing, but smaller scale. It was like I mean, they had some groceries in there, but it was like a dollar, like what most of the Dollar Generals are now. It's kind of like that. So I could have went to work there, or I could have went to the prison. That was kind of the two options that I had right there when I was 18, and I decided to go with the prisons, and that's where I went. I went to Telfair in 2014, and I started my career there. From there, when I went to Telfair had already had an officer that got murdered less than 2 years before I started there, which that was a big thing for the Department of Corrections in Georgia. It had been a long time since anything like that happened, and all, and the prison was in a very violent state, especially before I came. By the time when I got there in 2014, things had got a lot better than they were in, say, 2010, 2011. But so that's kind of the environment that I came in. It just was pretty much chance, and the fact that I couldn't start any kind of other law enforcement besides corrections at the time because I was 18. You normally have to be 21, and even now you have to be 21 to start with the Department of Corrections. So yeah, that's how I got my start in there, and then I worked my way up through the ranks. I got on the CERT team. That was what I wanted from day one, man. When I went into prison, like when I was getting trained and being a cadet and all, like I seen how the CERT team was. I seen that it was a tight camaraderie. I seen they were really professional, that they meant business, that people did what they said, generally speaking. And I wanted to be part of that, quote unquote elite crew at the prison. So that's what I worked my way toward, and I got that the next year. I got on the team at 19 years old, and then I man, I was doing heck of hours. I'm talking about 70 plus a week. Just because I was trying to make a name for myself, so to speak, and there was a lot of opportunity for doing stuff like that with overtime. So that's what I done. I worked my way up to be the assistant commander of the CERT team. I think probably it was right at a year that I had been on it by the time I became the assistant commander. And then from there, I made sergeant, and actually I went on shift as a regular shift sergeant, like a frontline supervisor in 2016. Yeah, 2016 was when I did that. I went to night shift. Man, I got in some incidents on night shift, and then I got a lot of contraband too, and just like my main thing when I went to night shift was that I don't want to be on night shift very long because I hate like that's just not um the hours that I
There's
would
nothing
work.
going on.
No, there's nothing. And then
All you're doing is rounds, right? You got to go by and with your flashlight and all that. I mean, really
yeah,
not much going on night shift.
yeah, well, at Valdosta there was, but at Telfair, no, like it was like you're saying, it's kind of boring. And then not only that, like even like at Valdosta when I was on night shift, it was action packed all through the night. So it wasn't like you ever got bored. But even if it's something that is you're not getting bored, like my schedule will be so off that I mean, it's hard to even see people. You know what I mean? Because I'm up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I go to bed in the morning, and everybody's up doing their thing. So it throws the whole schedule off of just regular social life. So I didn't like it
Yeah.
very much. So I was wanting to get back on day shift as soon as possible, and I was able to put in for the CERT commander position. I wasn't on night shift maybe 3.5 months or so, something like that, as a sergeant, and then I got the CERT commander position. So then I went, and that's still a sergeant position in most cases. And so I transferred over to that, just laterally moved. I still sergeant to sergeant. I mean, I did get a pay increase for being back on the special ops and everything. And I did that for another year, commanded that team. And then from there, I went to Valdosta State Prison as a correctional lieutenant, promoted up to lieutenant and went down there. It was because during that time, this was in 2017, the warden got it wasn't fired because he already had the time to retire. So he just pretty much got forced retired. The deputy warden, same thing. The captain got fired. A bunch of people on the CERT team got fired and arrested behind a bad use of force. And then there was some people that was bringing contraband in that got caught. So there was like 10 different things at Valdosta that happened in 2017 that just completely crumbled the staff there. And that's how I got told about the situation because a guy that was at Telfair that was, kind of mentoring me at the time, uh, got their captain's position, their chief of security position. So, and then it was a thing like, hey, you're hitting the ground running with everything you're doing. You've already did all this stuff. I mean, I became by this point. By the time I even went to Valdosta, had already went through post instructor training, defensive tactics instructor training, firearms instructor training, all the CERT training, and did that, and been in a lot of incidents and stuff. So like, I was really heavy into trying to promote and just trying to do everything to gain experience in that field. So that's when I was offered the position down at Valdosta. And it was a thing like, hey, look, this is a good thing to make a name for yourself and like prove that you can do whatever. If you already at one of the worst prisons in Georgia, which is Telfair, and then if you go down here to Valdosta and can be successful at Valdosta, Valdosta is like the level fives, except it's mental health level 3 as well. So you got
So you got a lot of people there that are really got psychological problems. Like,
yeah,
I
you
mean,
got a lot of people
from
that are
my
just
experience, are they finger painting? You know what I mean? Like they're in there playing with their own feces and smearing it on the walls and stuff.
oh, yeah, but it goes
Do they do
that's
that?
like low level. Yeah, I mean, I've seen dudes cut their arm open and pack feces into the wounds and stuff. I mean, yeah, a lot of self-harm, a lot of feces throwing even on each other and stuff as far as like from the inmates and the staff too, and just very assaultive inmates down there. So Yeah,
Yeah, they call it the shit pistol. They call it the shit pistol when they put it in the shampoo bottle
they
and they
call it the
gas you down with it.
yeah, they call it the
Yeah, that's
Glock. They call it the Glock Dookie in Georgia.
the Glock Dookie. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So,
Golly,
yeah,
that's
it's just,
disgusting.
it is, man. It is. I'm
I have to
glad
say
that
that I've never. I have to say that I've never done that
yeah.
ever, and never even thought to do that or appealed to me to do anything like that.
No, I hope not. That's a low level to stoop to, man, to go to throwing your own dookie at people.
Oh,
Yeah, so there was a lot of that. Luckily, I didn't ever get it bad. Like I seen even at Telfair, I seen several officers that just got it. I'm talking about face covered in runny feces, you know. But I was just lucky. I never really got that bad. I had a couple dudes that tried, but usually I would move just the right way, or I grabbed their wrist, or once I became a supervisor, shoot, I'd be busting that pepper spray immediately as soon as I seen the dang lotion bottle. That's usually how they do it is in a lotion bottle, you know, where they can get some distance on it. And shoot, man, I just wasn't. I was trying to avoid it, so luckily I did. But I did get some right before I got on the CERT team. I got some urine thrown on me, and it got me. I went to sidestep, and it got the side of my head, you know. So
what is the procedure afterwards when you get, biologic like stuff like people's urine and feces thrown on you? Do you have to have a medical evaluation, or they clean it off or decontaminate you?
yeah. Yeah, they're gonna do an incident report. It's up to you whether you want to get like a medical test and all to make sure that you ain't contracted nothing or anything like that. You can file under workers' comp, but usually with the stuff, all the situations that I got in with that, I didn't ever go get a test or nothing like that because it'd be something like with the urine. I mean, and plus it didn't get in my eye or none of that. So I mean, I just wasn't really that worried about that situation. But the officers that would get the feces right in their face or like a couple times I got blood in my eyes during the use of force or something like that. Like if I got blood in my eyes or feces in my anything in my eyes, nose, mouth, or open wound, and then yeah, I would do the incident report and go get the checks and all that. And the state pays for all that through workers' comp. So yeah, that's the procedure. And then with the inmate, usually they put them on strip cell for 8 hours or so, reevaluate after that, and then it's usually doesn't go past the DR. But they do get a DR, and then maybe they're with since 2013 they've been doing the tier program. So that's like a long term lockdown kind of thing. I think it's modeled after stuff that they started in California.
So yeah, like the shoe program in California. So all this usually happens in SEG. Just for the audience, I'm sure that you don't really have anybody in GP doing using the Glock Dookie on
One
people. It
time,
usually is when people are in one time, but it's usually while you are in SEG that they do that from behind the door. And that's from my experience. I've never seen it done on the compound, but I have seen a lot of it while I was in the different shoes around the United States. So
yeah.
that's interesting, man. What was the leading causes for you as being up there with the CERT team, the commander, in a position where you're kind of with administration and you're doing everything you're supposed to, and you're the model correctional officer. You're writing your DRs, which I assume are disciplinary reports, and you're just doing what you're supposed to do, working overtime. That when they call you and ask you to come in, you come in. What was it that changed for you to become a whistleblower and call them out on the things that they weren't doing and the things they were letting go? Like I heard of a case where a cellie was a gang member and his cellmate was openly homosexual, and the gang told him, "Hey man, you can't have this dude in the cell with you." So he ended up using a shank, stabbed the dude in the shoulder, tied him up, raped him, and the GDC did a report into the incident and found that it was unsubstantiated. So the guy didn't even get an incident report for this. They just kind of swept it under the rug. Were you aware of things like that going on?
Yeah, I mean, most of the times when I would be involved in situations like that, I would be more in the deal with the physical aspects of it, like separating the guys, getting them checked by medical, all this. I was never on the PREA team, which is the team that investigates the PREA allegations and other things like that. That's the terminology that they use, the unsubstantiated, substantiated, unfounded. That's kind of the three rulings that they can make on cases like that. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen cases like that a lot, especially once it got to where we were abandoning buildings and all that. And, to answer your question about like when did I start changing my views of everything, it was in 2019 when I got back to Telfair. So when I left Telfair in 2017, there was probably 27 or so officers assigned to each shift. There was 2 lieutenants on each shift. There was 2 sergeants on each shift, sometimes 3. There was a captain. I mean, there was a 9-man CERT team, which, I mean, like I say, I was the commander of an 8-man team, so 9 plus including myself. And so that's what Telfair looked like when I left. And Telfair was doing a lot better than it had been in years past when I left from there. So it was like it was in pretty good shape. There wasn't a lot of things going on that were extremely out of the ordinary. Like you're saying with this. I mean, no buildings were abandoned. There was officers always in the building. Nobody was ever really abandoned on post that long. So it was pretty good. I mean, it had its problems. It had its problematic people and things like that, like any workplace is going to have. But it was okay, generally speaking. When I got back in 2019, and I'm coming on the compound and I'm talking to, because I mean, I know these people. I was just working with them a couple years ago. I mean, most of the people that was there, I mean, I still knew them from a couple years ago, and they're telling me like most of the buildings are abandoned. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, there's no officer even in the booth or nothing? It was like, no, there's not enough officers here. There's 5 officers here, and 2 had to go to the hospital. So now we got 3, and we don't have 4 lieutenants total for the whole prison. So you got 1 lieutenant on each of the shifts, and then they were short. I mean, it was like a ghost town. I mean, the compound was just totally different. They weren't running that much stuff anymore because, like I say, there wasn't that many people there to run it. And the lockdown unit was out of control. I mean, with people do violence against each other and things like that, because they would leave even the lockdown buildings abandoned. So that's how you get situations like what you're talking about, where somebody's in the cell with somebody, they get word, or even if that doesn't happen, maybe they get arguing in the room and things get heated and they get into a fight. Well, if it's like 5 hours before an officer is even in the building, then you get situations like that where people are subjected to all kind of stuff, torture and a lot of cases death. So you were saying that in one of the years that in the report they have reported like 70 some odd murders in 2014, and how much percent it went up. Even from that, it went up hundreds of percent. If you go back to 2014, and it's like 1,000%, because like or more than that, because in 2014, I think, because I looked at the numbers when I was still employed, it was like 4. There was like 4 reported murders across the entire state of Georgia correction system in 2014. So it went from 4 to like triple digits.
That's what I'm saying, is there's just been like an increase in the violence, and they're saying the Department of Justice is basically reporting that the gangs control the prison, that they basically run rampant. They do whatever they want. They tell you, the COs, hey, we're moving so and so in this cell, and they get the cell moves, and they basically are running the prison. Now, when you say that the units are abandoned, does that mean that you guys are running regular program? Like, I know you said that there was limited program and the compound was like a ghost town. So I'm just trying to imagine, are the guys in the units locked down because you're short of staff?
No, the buildings are not locked down, but they're locked in the building. So they're locked in the building, but just out of their cells and around in the dormitory, which is pretty big. At Telfair, it's 80 per dormitory. So it's 80 men in a dormitory. They're all cell houses, except for around the back of the prison. They have 2 buildings that were built actually to be boot camps. They weren't even built to house close security inmates, but they later turned them into just extra buildings for Telfair. And they're not cell houses. They're like open bay type stuff. But yeah, bumps in the middle of the floor, But the main.
Are they triple racks or they're double?
No, just 2. Yeah. Now,
Just 2.
there are places in Georgia, though, where they have went in and triple bunked these cells that used to be 2 bunk. Like the prison that I blew the whistle at when I left was Washington State Prison, and they had that going on at Washington, where they had 3 bunks in a 2-man room.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's horrible.
The first time I ever seen that was when I was on tax squad, and I think it was Central State Prison around Middle Georgia, and that was the first time that I had seen that, and that was in maybe 2021 or so, something like that. And I just remember like shaking the cell down and just being frustrated in there, just because of how crowded it was and trying to shake. And I was just thinking like, dang, I bet they have a lot of problems with this, man, because like I'm saying, it's hectic to even search that area, with it being
Yeah,
so
because
much. You got 3 locker boxes, 3 bunks, 3 little desks. I mean, it's in a room that was built for 2 bunks.
yeah, I've been in prisons where they have a bed on the wall that called an X bed, and it folds down to where you can sleep on it at night. But like when you go to the bathroom, you literally have to like walk real close. There are one man cells that got converted into two-man cells. So I've been to prisons like that. But I've never been I have been in USP Allenwood in the shoe. They have some triple rack cells, but they do not put 3 people in the cells anymore,
Yeah.
because we stopped letting them do it. But man, that is a hard way. That's rough just thinking about getting up in the morning and getting yourself together. Like they got to have like a rotation or something. And just imagining getting along with one cellie, finding one cellie that you can get along with. And then to have another dude added into that dynamic I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, it's
But
predictable, it's predictable that that's gonna cause problems. That shouldn't have been done to start with, unless you're gonna make the room, the cell bigger, larger, so there's enough space, in there. Stuff like that, I mean, that's not terribly common in Georgia. I think it may be like 4 prisons that even have that going on at all, and then, like, even at Washington, I think it was only 2 buildings that had that, and it was only the bottom range. So it's not that widespread of a thing in Georgia. I mean, the thing in Georgia is, like I'm saying, that just totally abandoned of any kind of security. And then once it gets like that,
yeah,
I mean, it's like you're saying, like the gangs really are running it because there's nobody else around to run it anyway. So,
what
and
gangs are we talking about here? What groups are running in these prisons?
the GDs, the Bloods are pretty much the main 2. And the Muslims too, they get a lot of the dirty stuff, but mainly the GDs and the Bloods. If I had to say like which one has the most influence over the compounds, it'd probably be the GDs, just because we've caught more people that are affiliated with them that are actually have infiltrated the officer side of things than anybody else. I mean, we've had instances of other, like the Bloods. I remember when maybe in like 2018, one of the cadets that was at basic was discovered to be a Blood, and they made a big thing of that. And of course, they're spreading the information to the leaders and stuff, things to watch out for. But yeah, as far as the gangs, be between the Bloods and the GDs, but I would say that the GDs probably have more. There are more compounds that the GDs have more control on the compound than anything else.
Okay, so that was just for the black guys. What kind of are there any prison tips for the white dudes? Do they got any white prison gangs in there?
Yeah. And also, at most of the prisons, there's gonna be some kind of cartel also influence or Serrano influence. They have a good bit of dealings with the contraband as well. But I was just pretty much saying like in numbers, like what's the most there and what's infiltrated us the most. But yeah, there are some white gangs. The majority of the white inmates that are in gangs in Georgia are Ghostface gangsters. It's a gang that was started in one of the county jails here in Georgia in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's not that old of a gang, but that's what the most of them are. And then we have some AB guys, got a few Nazi lowriders, and they kind of all just gather with the AB, all the other the white gangs and stuff. They just pretty much group up with the AB. At prisons like Telfair and Valdosta, I mean, you might not have but like 15 Ghostface on the whole compound, and then you might have 5 ABs or something like that. I mean, it is minuscule numbers, compared to
Right.
the other. Yeah, just because that's just the numbers in there as far as like how the percentages are. But then with the Hispanics, at least in Georgia, they all pretty much click up. It don't matter who they are. So you might have Mexican mafia guys, and then you might have MS-13, which MS-13 is not even Mexican, nothing. It's El Salvadorian gang. So they all
Yeah.
just Hispanics. They click up when they get in because they're just like the whites. Their numbers are very low, and so that's kind of how it works as far as the gang situation.
All right. So when you was how many cell extractions do you think you've done in your career?
Maybe 15 or so, something like that. As far as planned cell extractions, where we're on camera, we're going in, and we know that this is going to be an extraction. It's about 15 or so.
Do you think that a lot of times maybe the inmates have a sometimes have a legitimate reason for causing for boarding up and refusing to obey a direct order and submit to hand restraints and make you guys suit up and go in there and physically remove them? Like, do they have justifiable reasons behind why they're acting out like that?
Yeah, in some cases they do, but at least in Georgia and at least in the experience that I have, that if it was something that was legitimate that they were angry about or whatever, then it would be something that we could de-escalate and we wouldn't do a cell extraction anyway, you know. So like most of the situations that I came into contact with where somebody had legitimate grievance, maybe they had been having problems with their roommate, they had been fighting or something, and the officer wouldn't move them, so this one guy maybe is doing like you're saying, boarding up and saying, "I'm gonna take y'all this." I mean, that would be a thing where we would separate them. I mean, or whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times they have legitimate grievances that need addressing, and but like I say, I mean, we're pretty proactive as far as like de-escalation and stuff like that. Like that was something that was heavy on us from the moment that I started. So if there was a chance that we could de-escalate it, usually then it would be de-escalated in a situation like that with the boarding up. And that's probably why we didn't do that many. We just didn't do that many cell extractions. Now, use of force, we have more of those than we did cell extraction just because once the mist or the fog or OC spray came out, then I mean, it pretty much just cut out cell extraction because when somebody would do the boarding up or whatever, and if it wasn't legitimate, and sometimes, I mean, it just depends on the situation. In my experience, about probably 70% of the time, it's something crazy, man. It's something crazy. This guy's just really in a bad mood that day, maybe. And sometimes they tell you that, like, I just want some wreck, you know, type thing. So it's mixed. Yeah, I mean, I have seen legitimate issues come up. Just like I say, most of the time we would get them resolved, you know, through de-escalation practices before it would come to cell extraction.
What is the most dangerous situation in a cell extraction that you've ever experienced?
When I got stabbed in 2021 on a cell extraction. But I went in on I think 3 different guys that was trying to stab. You know, they had knives and stuff like that. But this one actually resulted in some injury and stuff like that. So I'd say that was the most dangerous extraction that I've done for sure.
And can you take us through like what how the whole thing played out?
Yeah, and then
Just so people can I want people to get an idea of like, from your perspective, how these cell extractions go down and how they can go bad and like how dangerous this situation really is for both inmates and staffs.
yeah. And this story goes along with the whole reason why, you know, with the idea of me why I became a whistleblower too, because when I got stabbed, it was already like I'm saying, where we're so short, there's all these crazy things going on, and there's not enough people here, especially with experience, to be able to handle prisons like this. But yeah, it was in April of 2021. We didn't have any pepper spray during this time. So that was during the time of all the George Floyd riots and stuff like that was happening across the nation. That a lot of these police agencies were using OC spray a lot during these riots when these towns were getting burnt down and stuff. So while that's happening, we run out of pepper spray. Once we run out of pepper spray, I had to start coming in a lot on weekends or whatever. Because if they would have a situation, they would want to try to I mean, obviously, I mean, you got to try to do something. And most people there were not certified to use any kind of CS gas or pepper ball launchers or shock shields or, you know, the things that I was already certified in. There were, a matter of fact, there was only 2 people there that could use chemical. There was a chemical munition specialist. It's what's the, you know, you have to go through a whole training and all to get that. And so I was coming in a lot.
So
Go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Tyler, but I just wanted to ask this question because I'm used to seeing the COs with side handled telescopic batons and mace. Every CO has that in the California Department of Corrections and also in the Federal Bureau of Prisons where I did my sentences. So I was just wondering, like, so your regular staff that are working these units, the ones that are manned, they do not have any kind of weapons? Are they wearing any kind of armor, like a stab vest or anything like that?
Yeah, they give them stab vests, you know, but here's the thing, that's been another common thing of why officers are disgruntled with their leadership in the prisons is because, like, with the pepper spray, like, we have to get certified. We have to get sprayed all in our face when we go through basic to be certified to use that. And then when we get back to the prisons, most prisons, and it's kind of prison specific because it's up to the warden, but most prisons and most prisons that I've been at or even or worked at don't let the regular COs get pepper spray. It's only the sergeants and lieutenants and CERT team that's got the pepper spray and all. The regular COs, they just get handcuffs and radio and keys. So yeah, but at this point, not even the sergeants have OC spray because we're just out totally, statewide. Like there's no pepper spray. So that's what's going on with that. But yeah, like the officers here, and as far as like the batons, man, there's very few people that carry a baton. I mean, I carried a baton once I got certified with it because the batons were a big thing before I came as far as the non-expandable batons, just the regular nightstick type. And then they had a lot of officers that got them took from them and beat with them. So, and that is a problem. Now that is something that you run into as far as tactics and everything when you're using a baton, that when you start hitting somebody with a baton, they're instinctually they're gonna try to take it from you. And if they get it from you, they're gonna beat you with it. So that happened a lot. So a lot of the officers didn't carry them. They were discouraged from carrying them. But I mean, I carried mine once I got certified with it. But I mean, I hit one person with that baton over probably about 5-year period that I carried it. So now I drew it out on about probably 50 people. But with that baton, usually, first of all, I'm not going to draw that baton out and expand it and get ready if it's not a serious situation going on. Like this dude's got a knife in his hand. This dude's stabbing somebody. I mean, it's assaulting staff. I mean, it would be serious situations that I would draw it. And when I would, you draw a baton and you got that, it's kind of the optics of it, of expanding and everything. Usually would make them go, hey, don't hit me with the stick. And I mean, I've had that several times where I'll draw it on somebody and where something's going on. And as soon as it comes out, they say, please don't hit me with that. And I mean, I tell them, look, I ain't going to hit you with it as long as you listen to me, man. So, and that's why I know that I hardly ever hit nobody with it. The one time I did, that dude he was trying to stab us. He was trying to hit us with a extension cord. He was biting my leg when I was hitting him, so it was a full blown like, fight or whatever, like he was being very aggressive. So, wow. But to get back to this cell extraction story, so that's what's going on with no pepper spray. There already not many. I think that night there was 3 officers there. So there was 3 officers at Telfair State Prison. That's a 16 dormitory maximum security prison as far as our classification system in Georgia. Technically, the high max is considered maximum, and these places like Telfair are considered close. That's kind of how it goes. Maximum, close, medium, minimum. But maximum, that's only like 200 and something people that's actually considered maximum. Close is our like top level as far as GP people. And that's what Telfair is. So they don't have many people there. They have this guy down in lockdown that has done committed sexual assault against his roommate, right? So he's done that. They found out about it. They got the roommate out because the situation happened where they were running showers, I think, and then the roommate got in the shower and wouldn't go back to the room, and then that's how they found out that there was sexual assault that was going on. They called me out there because
So the room.
Go ahead.
Oh, so the guy that was in the shower was the victim of the assault. He didn't want to go back to the cell.
Yeah. He got put in the shower. I think, best of my memory, I don't think they were running showers. I think that, but I know that he got put in the shower some kind of way because that's where he was, when I was hearing about the situation and I'm kind of trying to gather my intel and everything. But so yeah, that had happened. And then when the supervisor went to go cuff the guy that was in the cell, the guy had tied onto a broom handle and tried to stab him, through the flap, sticking like a spear out the flap at him. So that's when they called me. This was on a Saturday. Yeah, so they wasn't running showers. They must have something happened that made them get that guy out and put him in the shower. And then that's when they found out all that. So they called me out there. I go out there. I go up and look in the cell. This guy, I recognize the inmate. He was the head of security, the head of the little security team for the Muslims on the compound. So he's always with those security guys in the Jumar and the Talim and all those services that they have for the Muslims. So I mean, I recognize the guy. He's a big guy, and he's known for like being physical or whatever. So when I seen that it was him and he wasn't talking, like period, he wouldn't talk to me at all. Me and like I tried to de-escalate. I tried to talk to him at the cell. He had the window busted out. So I mean, we looking at each other like dead in the face, inches apart. And I'm trying to talk to him. He's not talking. Then when I open the flap, he tries to daggone stick the broom handle back out, and I took it from him. So and then I took that from him. Then I saw him in there with another knife. So I was like, okay, because I mean, I got the one knife that was tied to the broom handle, but it turns out this dude had 5 knives in there. So the one got gone, and then when we went in, he had one in each hand, and then he had 2 more in his property, when we packed it all up. So I got the little broom handle from him, and then I tried some stuff that is usually what we use for cells. So usually we don't try to put any kind of pyrotechnic in a cell. So the pyrotechnic is when they like, and they make the smoke, it makes a lot of smoke. We try not to put any of those inside cells. So what I used was a powdered form of CS. So I shoot the powder. It doesn't do anything. He also is coming up, and as he's breathing at the little door, the window that he had busted out, there was some. Now they didn't have any of the big cans of pepper spray that you can use for area contamination, but they did have some of the little ones. So, and I used one of the little ones on him too. While he was, like I say, he was still refusing, but he was just getting air at that little thing. I sprayed him with the pepper spray too, and it didn't do anything. But come to find out, this dude had been on meth for days and was super paranoid. He had just made his mind up that it's going to be some violence. So he was in there getting suited up. He put like 3, 4 pair of clothes on. I think he had 3 pair of pants on altogether, and then like 2 shirts, a sweater, a rain jacket. I mean, he had all kind of stuff on. So he's doing all that. I'm looking around at the situation. I'm there. There's a new guy that just started on the CERT team. I'm on the CERT team here at Telfair at this time too, which is 2021. After I came back, there's him, there's me, there's 2 guys that were from Hayes State Prison Tax Squad, which is way up in North Georgia. They were the only 2 members of Hayes Tax Squad. Both of them had less than 1 year of experience, and that's your males. And there was one new officer guy that was at the prison that literally just graduated BCOT like a week before this. So these are your males. So of everybody, nobody even has more than a year experience except me. That's even there for this thing. So when I find that out, I take them. I go in the take them in the day room. I'm like, look, we'll have to do a extraction on this guy to get him out. And I was talking to them, and I'm asking them, have y'all been through the CERT basic, Act basic, all this stuff? And they're like, no, none of them had been through the basic training for special operations. None of them have been formally trained on a cell extraction. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh man. So I go up in the booth and I call the deputy warden and I say, look, there's nobody here that's even done a cell extraction except me, nor been trained. I was like, and I was like, I'm an instructor. I said, look, I can run them, I can teach them real quick, but this is really not the situation that you want to do your first cell extraction on. Like, you want to know what you're doing before you go into something like this. So I asked him, I was like, look, this guy's got the knives. He's not, I just told him the situation. And I said, look, can we try to do a small, one of the little short range pyros in the cell just to see if we can get this guy to cuff up? And so he called, got the authorization for that, called me back and said, look, yeah, we can justify that. He's got we got all this on camera too. I mean, we got video cameras recording the whole incident. So I went, I deployed the pyrotechnic and it didn't work. So now there's nothing else, like we got to do the extraction. Go ahead.
So what is a pyrotechnic? Just basically a flashbang grenade or what?
No, we don't use flashbangs in cells at all, period. Because it's like it can really hurt the person that's in the cell. Like it can blast their eardrums, it can blow the door off the cell. I mean, it's just we don't do that. We don't even try to use the pyro.
So-
The pyros is where it's like the one I shot in there was a shell out of the grenade launcher. So you shoot it and then within the little capsule, it's got powder and then it's got a little thing that it catches on fire when you deploy it. And so it burns that powder and makes smoke. It's the ones that sit there and you see the smoke boiling out of it. That's
Okay.
if you've ever seen that, like with tear gas, when you see tear gas that they shoot, that's usually pyrotechnic. Like it's sitting there smoking the whole time. Smoke grenades will be pyrotechnic. It's just where they got something burning powder in the projectile and making smoke.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to figure out like what kind of munition it was because there's different systems use different things. Like I know they do throw like some kind of flashbang concussion grenades in the cells in the feds. They also throw grenades in there that have these little black rubber pellet balls that are about, I don't know, the size of a small ball bearing, but they're rubber, hard plastic. And there's just feels like there's hundreds of them that just shoot all over the cell in there.
Yeah.
But
They're called
yeah,
stinger grenades. That's what I
yeah.
call 'em. We have those, but I mean, I've never deployed one. I mean, that's just not something that we use very often. The Georgia Department of Corrections is, like I was saying earlier about like trying to make sure they do a lot of de-escalation and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of situations where they're too lax on situations and it ends up getting people hurt. I've seen that more than I've seen anything go on that could be labeled as like excessive or any of that. Like, but yeah, we don't use, because I can go like, even me and I think like that too. Like, I don't want to throw a stinger inside of a small cell. I mean, this dude's eye might get put out, you know. I mean, maybe if this, I
Right.
mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, it could be justifiable, but usually we try to go with the least harmful thing that we can do to them, you know, being as they're in the cell. I mean, like, there was a bunch of times that I wanted to get the bean bag, the bean bag rounds out of the 12 gauge and bring them in for situations, and I would get told like, no, we can't do that. It's too excessive. And I'm like, we're about to do a cell extraction on this guy if we don't do this. That's way more excessive, man. Like 5 of us are gonna go in this cage with this guy and get him under control. I was like, if we could use a beanbag and do that without having to go through the physical fight, you know, that would be better in my opinion. But they were really averse to doing stuff like that. They were averse to doing cell extractions, like I say. But certain situations, like you don't have any other option, like the situation that I'm talking about. So that's what happened with that situation. None of that worked. So I get these guys and I take them in the day room of the dormitory and I train them how to do cell extraction. I train them up, get them, you know, make sure they know what their duty is when we go in, make sure they know what their role is, all this. I get them hyped up, you know, as much as I can, and we go do the thing. Now, when we did it, I mean, it didn't go perfectly, but it went how it went. You know, nobody got killed, and that's good. When we got up to the door, first of all, I ran the shield on this incident just because I was the most experienced person there, and so when you open the door, the guy was already coming out the door as the door was opening, so I didn't have any kind of space to get up, no kind of momentum on myself. You know, it was just like the door was coming open, and I'm touching him, you know, and pushing him back with the shield. The door come open, I do get him caught with the shield, and I get him pinned against the wall, which is right there diagonally inside the door. The door's coming open this way. Right inside the door is the sink, and then the toilet, and then the bunks is over that way. So instead of normally like when we go into cell extraction, I'm gonna come and get square in the door and go straight in, and the guy would normally be at the back of the cell or something like that. But like I say, this guy, he was at the door coming out when the door opened. So it was pretty much just like a diagonal straight shot to the sink. And I got him against the sink. He had his arms that wasn't in the shield. He was trying to stab, stuff like that. But I mean, the shield had his arm like, no, he couldn't. He was just doing something like that. I mean, he couldn't touch me. I had him pinned. Now, usually with a cell extraction, the way we train, once you get them pinned, the other guys behind you, they know it's predetermined like which limb they're gonna secure on the guy. And they're supposed to branch out and go around you one at a time and get this guy and secure his limbs. And then once we're ready, I'll remove the shield after they've already got his limbs secured, and we can go to the floor, get him restrained. And I mean, that it works pretty good, man, when you got experienced people that are doing it. But like I say, this situation wasn't like that. And then when I got him pinned up against the wall, the guy that was supposed to branch off first, the guy that was behind me, I guess as he went to branching off to go around me, he slipped, and there was all kind of stuff in the floor in the cell. Like, this guy really knew what he was doing. It was dark in there too. He had shorted out the lights, so you couldn't turn the light on. I mean, it was dark. Like, he was very prepared for the incident. So, I mean, I try not to I ain't mad at the guy for falling or nothing, but he fell, and he fell into my straight, like right into the middle of my back, and straight up knocked me all the way over the toilet into the back of the cell in there. And then, so I go over the toilet, I hit the floor in there. I still got the shield. I just throw the shield, let it go and get it. You know, I'm trying to get up to my feet quick because this guy at this point, I'm at the back of the cell. I'm looking back toward what's happening. As I'm getting up, the inmate is popping this dude with one of these shanks. I mean, I can just hear it. You know, I hear that and I see the knife swinging, and I'm in my head, I'm like, oh no, you know, that's like, I need to get this guy. So I'm getting up and then I rush him and grab one of his wrists. And this was before I knew that he had two knives. So I get a hold of the hand that he's stabbing the guy that's in front of me with. I get a hold of that hand and he comes across and stabs me with another knife in the face shield of my gas mask. So I had a gas mask on, but I didn't have any kind of helmet and that's another part of the situation. So I'm out here, I don't have anybody that's trained up to do this situation. Not only that, when we went to get suited up with all the protective equipment, there wasn't even enough protective equipment for four people to suit up because like a month prior to that, the inmates in the lockdown unit had broken out of their cells and went in there and stole or not all of it, but a bunch of the riot gear and distributed it out amongst the compound, and they just never recovered all of it. Like they recovered some of it, but some of the other it was destroyed, all damaged up. The inmates had to made something else out of it. Like it was a big deal, and so we didn't even have enough stuff. So I got all three of them suited up all the way. So all of them had it. I think no, one of the guys was missing something. I think it might have been some leg guards, and then everybody else was suited up all the way. And me, I was Jane. Pretty much, I just had a turtle suit on. I think I had the turtle. I had the shell for the vital organs, and I had like a crotch protector on or something like that. That was it. I didn't have nothing on my arms, or any of that. Like I didn't have a helmet, nothing. I mean, there was only 3 helmets, and I'm like, I mean, I'm the leader here, so what I'm saying. So like, I'm not gonna outfit myself and not outfit the guys, that I'm leading, So
That's what a leader does, though. I mean, that's what we do. We like
yeah, yeah.
you're the one, like you're going to lead by example. So you just make sure your guys are taken care of, and then you go and do the hard part. That's it.
The gas mask and that snapped my head back real hard. It actually went into the front of the gas mask and ripped it off my head. Not all the way, it was dangling there for a little bit. And then he hit me again. I seen him coming for the second one, and I rushed into him some more. I mean, I already had his wrist on one side. He hit me the one time, and then he goes to hit me, I guess, like right in the neck, and I dive in even closer to him. So his arm just kind of slammed against his arm just hit my neck because the knife actually went behind me. So he hit me in the side, and then I already had his wrist that flipped him over the toilet, and we got on the ground in there, and I was holding him by the wrist, and I hollered out for the other guy. Now, at this time, I didn't know that the second guy, after he slipped and that guy hit him as he was hitting him, he actually knocked him out. He gave him a concussion through the helmet with something that he did to him. So he's laying on the floor, and they're knocked out. The third guy in line, when the guy, like as I was rushing him, he tried to rush him and got hit in the back of the head by the fourth guy that was trying to hit the inmate. So it was just a big cluster in there. There was no light and all this. So, I mean, all this we're figuring out after the fact. I mean, the only reason I even know most of this stuff because these people were telling me what was happening and everything from their perspective. But I got him on the floor in there, and we're going across the floor. He's trying to stab me, and I push away every time. As he tries to go in, I push away. And then so it never really got too close, but like I'm saying, he is trying to stab me. On the other hand, he was punching me, but the knife actually shot out the back of I guess when he hit me in the gas mask or either one of these other times, he had the handle of one of them made out of a manila folder. And when he hit
So
it shot out the back,
he didn't have his handle on very well.
No, not one of them. Now, the other one he had on super good, the big knife. He had like one that was like 9.5, 10 inches, and then the other one was the smaller one that was maybe like 6 inches or so, something like that. But yeah, as I'm on the floor in there, I holler out for the guy. I actually remember I told you there was a fifth guy that was there. That was a brand new officer. I told him before we went in, I gave him my baton, my expandable baton. And I was like, look, if this guy makes it out of the cell or whatever, like you can use this. Like it's a serious situation. I went through the whole legal aspect of use of force with him and everything to make sure he knew what what we was about to do. So I already knew he was out there with that baton. So when we're on the floor in there, I hollered out for him. I said, hey, such and such. I called his name. He said, yeah. I said, come in here and hit this dude. And he come in there. He went to trying to stab me hard then, I guess because he knew, that time was getting short on his stabbing spree. But yeah, he came in there and he went to hit him in the head with the baton, and I felt him get weaker with every hit. He might have hit him maybe 4 times, 5 times or so in the head. when I felt him go limp, I felt the guy's wrist go limp. He went out. I told him stop hitting him, and I rolled over on him, and got him cuffed up. And man, I thought it was over with for that guy, for the inmate, because once we got light in the cell, like there's a big puddle coming up by his head and everything. Like there's a lot of blood. His head split, in a couple places. I'm like, man, hope this dude ain't
Right.
dead or nothing, just because like that ain't the goal, But I mean, it would have been justified if he would have passed away. I mean, because he was attempting to
Well,
murder.
yeah, he attempted murder on you guys. Yeah, he was actually assaulting y'all with the weapon. So that kind of use of force, like I know, like in the feds or in California, if you're out in the day room or anywhere in the open using a weapon on another inmate and the tower sees you, they'll give you a warning shot, but then they're going to go to live rounds and they will take you out if you're in the act of committing a murder, or an assault with a weapon like that.
Yeah, they don't do that in Georgia, at least not anymore. We don't have any armed watchmen of the prison. Now, when I first started, they
It,
did
it's
still
it's
have a couple in the towers, but it wasn't many, man. Like it was already from what I can tell, the Department of Corrections was already on a downturn from the moment I started, and I just was there to see it go from being on a downturn to it being just apocalyptic in these prisons. And that situation with the cell extraction is just even more to prove it, because we got that situation over with, got him cuffed, got him on the ambulance. He made it. I mean, he just had he had to get some stitches and staples and all that, and he had a bad concussion. But I mean, he made it. All of us made it. The second guy, he had a concussion. I actually had to get some neck surgery 3 months later when I finally found out, what the issue was. During the incident, I mean, I just thought I was sore from the hit or whatever, but it turned out to be some nerve damage, and I had some surgery, and that fixed that. But anyway, when we got this guy on the ambulance, as soon as, because the what few officers were still there, we told him like, hey, go back to the building and make sure the building's good. Because I mean, at this point, it's been like 3 hours dealing with this situation altogether. They go back to the building. The inmates in lockdown have done broke out of their cell and went and trying to jump on other people in lockdown. So there's a dude down there with a big old sword machete out in lockdown. They called me on the radio. I'm like, oh man, run down there. So within 20 minutes of going through that situation, I rolled up on a dude in lockdown walking around with a machete. And it just, I mean, he luckily, like, he laid it down and all when I told him to, and all that. He actually had the machete trying to defend himself from other gang members that had broke out of their cell in lockdown, and they was trying to break into other people's cells down there while we were dealing with that other situation in the other building. Because while this situation going on, and we had a lot of cases like that. Like once it gets short, once you have a situation go on, that's going to be your whole compound worth of officers are at one building. So the rest of the compound is completely abandoned. So they would use those opportunities to do all kind of stuff like this, break out of lockdown and go break into other ones.
a way to solve that, a way to solve that. I know when the deuces go off in the feds, it's everybody return to your assigned cells. They lock you down until the incident is resolved and all the responding staff can report back to their posts. And that way they can monitor the inmates. But that's just, it's wild. And to just think that, you're in a unit with all these dudes, and if something goes down, there's no COs to come break this up. The inmates have a right to know that even though they're in prison, they're somewhat safe and protected from being a victim, or even, like they said, the murder rate is just astronomical. It's the highest in the nation, I believe. Alabama being in second, and I believe the Bureau of Prisons is right there in third place as being like the most dangerous spots, those United States penitentiaries after Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, it's wild.
What kind of steps did you take? Like when you was like, man, you know what? I'm fed up with this. I want to see some change. Did you just resign, or what was the process like?
No, it actually started with me getting out of the facilities division. So when I went to Johnson, because I went from Telfair, Valdosta, then I came back to Telfair, and then I went to Johnson in 2022 because I got a good deal on some property and all this, and I moved, and that was a prison that was near where I was going to be living, and they had a lot of open positions and stuff like that, and I called their warden, I talked to him, and they had a cert their cert commander position was open. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. This would be pretty much like retirement. I go to a medium security camp. I done been in Telfair and Valdosta for whatever 7 years or so at that point. Like, yeah, this is gonna be sweet. So I went to Johnson, and it was even worse than Telfair in a lot of ways. It wasn't quite as violent, but like at Johnson, man, there was a lot of days where I was the only male on compound. Period. So like you're
So
saying,
you're the
we're
only
not having any
you're
backup
the
and
only
stuff.
Yeah, so you're not even having any backup if something happens to you.
No, and I was in several situations that got violent, and just luckily I didn't lose. You know what I mean? Because like when you're in a situation like that, like I'm aware that if I get knocked out or something, that I'm at the mercy. Whatever they want to do to me, then they're gonna do it because there's no other. There would be a few other officers sometimes, but they would be 45-year-old females that are 300 pounds or something like that. Like you can't help with controlling a man when they get violent. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hard for me. It's hard, man. When dudes really go, you got a problem on your hands. So you need people to be able to deal with that, and you just don't. So that was the situation at Johnson. And Johnson had a lot of things that were going on that were kind of like the other, with being short, with not having officers, people getting assaulted all the time, people getting all the time, all this stuff like that. And that's what actually made me decide that, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's when I called. I actually went out on took leave and straight went out on what they call stress leave or whatever in 2023. That was in a string of incidents that happened at Johnson. That was just, a dude almost stabbed me in ID, and I was in there by myself that day as well. And then there was a female sergeant that came, but it was just crazy. The guy that tried to stab me, I put him in. I had to use force on him, and we fought over the knife in there in the ID and everything. But it just as he went to pull it. See that situation. Let me start from the beginning with that situation. All this is going down all at the same time. That day we went in. Me and the warden go around on inspection. Me and the warden go around on inspection. We go down to the dormitory. There's a guy that the warden talks to, and he's saying that this guy's got a pipe. So there was a guy in the cell during inspection in lockdown in the segregation unit at Johnson. And he was walking around in the back of the cell, and he had a piece of pipe that was stuck down in the side of his waistband there. He had that, and the warden was saying, hey, give me that pipe or whatever. Give the weapon. He wouldn't give it to him. So then he told me, like, hey, go get this pipe from this guy. I went, I tried to get the pipe from him. He wouldn't give it to me. And I recognized him from Valdosta. So I knew this inmate from Valdosta State Prison when I was there years before. And this guy was really violent. Like I'd already seen him do stuff to people. I seen him get jumped at Valdosta, and that stuff got so violent out there, man. Like it looked like a Tasmanian devil out there with all of what was going on. Like when he got jumped at Valdosta, there was so much going on behind that situation that they was all biting him and stuff by the end of it. They actually bit a pig. That's how I recognize him. These guys at Valdosta bit pretty much like the top part of his ear off, when he got in this big fight at Valdosta. So that's how I knew him from that situation at Valdosta. And I was like, dang, this is not good. This guy's refusing to give it to me. And there's no other male here besides the warden. And like I said, the warden's like 55 years old and diabetic and all this. Like he can't help on suiting up. When he wouldn't give me the pipe, I went up to the warden, and I was told him, like, look, he's not giving me the pipe either. We're going to have to do something. This was another time that we was out of OC spray. So we didn't even have no pepper spray because this is during those, it was several times that we ran out during this era. So we didn't have any pepper spray. I go and I tell the warden, I'm like, okay, then we're going to have to call somebody, like you're going to have to call tax squad or somebody from another prison to come help me suit up. Like, because we didn't, I think that day, man, we might have had like 6 females there and me. So there was just there was not a second man to go in the cell. And with a situation like that, like, I'm not going to take no females in a situation like that. That's bad. That's bad for them, bad for me,
Yeah.
bad for everybody.
Has there been times when you've had to have females suit up and do extractions? Because that's uncommon for me to
Yeah.
see. I've never seen that. I've
It's
seen
happened.
females manning the camera. I've seen them in charge of the camera and, stuff like that as being part of the team, but never an actual member. It's usually, your able-bodied males like the guys that are in shape and, the heavy hitters for you guys, they sending in the heavy hitters. The CERT team, the tax squad, those are the guys that are like, they're tough like convicts, but they're just on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm about, like I was saying, by this point, there's none of those people left. Like they've been ran off, they've been fired, they've been having to deal with corruption, they've been retaliated against for different things. I mean, we have such a huge problem in Georgia that I mean, because it's not even just specific to one or two prisons. You're talking about the majority of our prisons are like this. So it's like you said at the beginning, it's a system in crisis, and it's predictable that it's going to be this way when they've been doing the things that they've been doing. I mean, they had wardens. They had a warden at Telfair in 2011. Remember, I was telling you, like 2010, 2011, it was super violent at Telfair. Like they was pretty much, from what I was told by some of the senior staff there, that it was pretty much multiple stabbings daily at Telfair for a long period. And it culminated in a big riot that happened there in 2011 where they lost control of the whole prison for hours. And that was when they had a lot of officers in there, So, and the reason that was happening was because they put a warden there that was super unprofessional and super soft, or whatever you want to call it. Like this warden would go down there. They would be dudes that was acting up in the building. Maybe they're bucking, or maybe they done stab somebody. They would go to lock the building down, and the inmates would refuse to lock down. So this is stuff that officers are telling me, that maybe they have a situation in the dorm. They got two people just been stabbed all up. There's blood everywhere. They don't even know who done it, none of that. The officers go in. They're trying to lock the building down because that's protocol after something like that happens, to lock everybody down. And then you got to go around and check everybody for injuries. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you need to do after an incident like that.
Mhm.
But this warden that came there, they would go in there to lock them down, and then they would refuse. They would say, F y'all get out. They would put the officers on the door in there with knives and stuff. They start pulling knives and stuff on the officers. The officer would leave out and then start suiting up and getting all their stuff ready. The warden would come down there and go in the sally port, and he would get all the top gang members from in there to come out in the sally port and talk with him to talk about this thing. They would come out in the sally port.
De-escalate.
Yeah, that's what they called it. They would come out in the sally port and talk with the guy, and then the warden would not make them go on lockdown, would talk to these guys and just be like, okay, yeah, and not make them go on lockdown. He was giving them like popcorn and stuff as like, if y'all behave, I'll give you popcorn and stuff like that, which stuff like that can be used positively. But if you're just completely letting security lax and letting guys get away with stuff like what I'm talking about, pulling knives on the officers and making them get out of the dorm, and then you don't even lock the building down. Like there was a lot of officers that were there that were very, like you're saying, like the tough guys, the heavy hitters, the people that are there that are maintaining order. Like that pisses those people off more than you could ever believe, and I can't blame them. I've never been in a situation like that where I went in a dormitory and people were pulling knives on me and making me get out of the dorm, and then I go out and then the warden comes and pretty much, gives them a bag of popcorn for doing it and don't even make them lock down. Like that's crazy, completely crazy. And it
Yeah,
was
that's just like, it's just like if when you're raising your kids and you're telling basically it's reinforcing negative behavior. It's a rewarding a negative thing. So it's like ass backwards.
exactly.
But like I've seen videos on YouTube and other platforms of inmates, and I believe it's probably Georgia GDC, and they're just walking around with these bangers out. They're like making beats on the bars with them, just have them hanging over their shoulders, like nonchalant, blase, like it's legal to just be running around like that. And I'm just blown away by that, because the way I've always done my time, it's always been a cat and mouse game. You know what I mean? Like they know, and they might even let you make it. They might not even fuck with you if you're not doing nothing, or if you're just somebody that they are like, oh, that dude's a fucking G, to just leave that dude alone. But they know there's all kinds of knives, and they come and get them and all that stuff. But like we're not running around with them just fucking like a pipe in our waistband and stuff like that. So it's like, to have that type of situation to where you don't have control of the prisons, where they don't lock down, it's a public safety factor. Because I just wanted to ask, like, once the shortage of staff happened and these inmates are left alone in the blocks. How often did you guys have escapes or attempted escapes starting to happen?
A lot more frequently. I think there might have been 4 over this last 5 years or so, something like that. They actually escaped from state prisons, and they were all recovered within a short period of time. So they haven't had that many escapes. They can do it anytime they want to. The only reason that they're not is because what they are doing is bringing in. I'm talking about contraband, pounds of meth, pounds of marijuana, pounds of fentanyl, or no, probably not fentanyl because it's lower amounts that they get in that. But you get what I'm saying? Like they are smuggling in hella contraband in there. And the way they're doing it is they're sitting down there. This is what we started having a problem with when we got really short because there's no officer in the building. They can just sit there and cut their whole window out of their cell. Nobody's going to hear them except other inmate guys. And I mean, they're not going to, they're all in there together. Like they're doing it too. But anyway, they would cut their whole window out. They already got the cell phones, the contraband cell phones. They would set up with the drones and have these people with the location on their cell phone and literally just have the drone fly the contraband right to that window on the side of the building. They would take the window out and just get it. And then the drone would go back out, come back in, go back out, come back in. Like one time in 2022, I came out because they was like, hey, this guy just got a drop down there in B building and we need to get the contraband. Man, we went in there. It was like 3 duffel bags full of contraband that just came in one night. So all kind of drugs, I mean, whatever you want. I mean, they're getting real knives in. Like most prisons that I've spoke with inmates at that are currently incarcerated, there's real knives on the compound, or if not, guns. I mean, there was a kitchen stewardess at Smith State Prison in 2024, right before I became a whistleblower, that got shot in the head by an inmate at a close security prison. He's rolling around the compound with a pistol on it, a firearm, not just a shank, and he goes up in there and shoots the kitchen stewardess and then shoots himself because he had a relationship. They were in a relationship and then they had split up, I guess. And then he was, that's kind of the reason that he did it. And the state used that as like a way to downgrade that kitchen stewardess and all that. And look, they do know that they're not supposed to sleep with the inmates and all that, and they're not supposed to have personal dealings with the inmates from when they start. But first of all, she was not a security employee anyway. Second of all, you're not supposed to leave the kitchen stewardess up in the kitchen without officers. There's supposed to be correctional officer supervision for that whole show at all times while it's running. But it wasn't. From the moment that lady started, there was no officer in the kitchen. So it's just her and another kitchen stewardess in the kitchen, this massive kitchen of a prison, and there's no officers around because, like I'm saying, there ain't but 3 officers on the compound. So they're not putting no officer in the kitchen. So, I mean, I just look.
So they're like considered what I would call free staff. They're not like correctional officers. They're just regular people working a job in the kitchen because they know how to run a kitchen.
Exactly. They're not sworn. They haven't taken an oath or nothing like that. So that happened. She died. They both died. Her and the inmate that day. That was in 2024. So I mean, situations like that, we've had officers get jumped and tied up and beat and taken hostage. That was always a thing that once it got short, like, because I've already seen how stuff goes, and I know that can be something that some of these guys get on their mind at certain times. So, and when you're in there, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if there's any incidents where the guards were taken hostage and tortured and sexually assaulted as well.
None that
Because
I
I know
know
that's
of
one of the
with the
things.
F
Like,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know of any.
I know it's pretty vicious, man.
Yeah, it's vicious. Yeah, I mean, I seen several officers that got jumped. I mean, I seen a female. One of the worst ones that I seen that really made me mad or whatever, or made me like mad at the department for leaving these prisons like this, was in, I think it was early 2021. There was a lady. She had her arm in a cast already, so her arm is casted from like here down. She already
shouldn't even have been at work.
Shouldn't even be working a floor in there anyway, not a main floor. But they had her working not only a floor, but a dang lockdown unit by herself in a lockdown unit with a cast on. And one of the guys snuck and actually came out of the cell and jumped her, grabbed her, threw her on the ground, stomped her in the head, beat her, took her keys and her radio and all that. And I mean, maybe that would have been that it could have went further than that because there was no officer down there. Nobody even knew it because there was no officer in the booth either. So there's nobody watching this lady's back. She is down here in the lockdown unit completely by herself. And then this happens. This guy stomps her out in there as he's taking her keys and her radio and her handcuffs and all off of her. She comes to and starts running toward the door, and he runs after her, and the orderly guy sees all this, the other inmate that's down there, and steps in between them and lets her get out the building. You know, and we've had several situations like that that have happened where if it wouldn't have been for an orderly man, they ain't telling what would have happened. If it hadn't been, or not even maybe orderly, if it hadn't been for a honorable inmate stepping up and stopping something from happening to some of these females, man, there would have been several situations where we would have lost a female officer, you know, or they would have went through something that they don't need. I mean, even that, they don't need to go through that. They don't know if female need to get stomped out down there in the building, a building that females shouldn't even work anyway. They didn't work them, even as early back as 2014 when I started. We didn't put females on post in those buildings. We already know this is the building that people are problematic and all that. These people are assaultive sometimes down here and stuff. That's just common sense. But like I say, common sense flew out the freaking window, man. It got gone. It's by like 2017 when they started going with this ACA and starting with just, I mean, what I call woke stuff. You know, they was all pedal to the metal with it. And that runs off males. So the men don't want to be involved in bull crap like that. Like, we just there to maintain order to prison. We're there to do our jobs. Like, so all this other stuff, you know, and we don't like situations like that. That ain't nothing bad. That's nothing against women to say, look, the way we had it where women didn't work these high risk posts like this, that's the correct way. Like, women don't need to work these high risk posts like that at male prisons. Maybe at the female prisons, yeah. Like, you need more females at the female prison. But there's no reason.
Yeah, it seems like at least if, you know, what happened in the feds is initially when I got there, it was only one CO per block. They didn't have a vest. They had, I can't remember whether they had a baton or not, but they didn't have mace yet. They didn't have a vest. They had their flashlight, their radio, and some keys, and it was one CO. And then at USP Canaan, a CO got assaulted and murdered, and the guy took his radio and all that, like you're saying this guy did. And then after that, they made all the COs wear vests. They got the batons, they got the mace, and it was 2 COs per unit after that. So they had somebody in there to back them up.
That's how it should be.
It's funny that the Department of Justice had done this long, like multi-year investigation and came to these findings that it's horrific in a system in crisis with what they said was pervasive and endemic violence. And there's nothing that's been done. I wanted to ask you, you told me about the event you went to in Atlanta, or you were going to. How did that turn out?
It turned out really well. I got to speak and everything, and there was a lot of people that got to speak. Some family members of people that have lost their lives in the corrections, and then there was a couple other people that was there that was speaking, and then myself. So it went well. I mean, there was probably maybe 45 people or so, something like that, 50 people that showed up. I mean, it's hard getting a lot of people to show up to a prison reform rally, you know. So
Right.
But yeah, we
If
got
there
the
was
message out there. I did like a long interview for a documentary that's in productions right now. That's in the process of getting produced. So I mean,
right on.
I'm trying to get the word out there. I mean, because like you're saying, these situations, and the DOJ does know. I mean, it doesn't take Of course, things are going to be going on like that. Of course, there's going to be all kind of violence. I mean, we not only got violence, we got inmates in there that's straight up enslaved. They're slaves. They have to do scamming. They have to get money from their people and pay these gang members for beds, for protection. It's extortion. It's slavery. It's murder. It's everything whatever you can think of that's going on. It's going on in these prisons because they're down there. They're at the mercy of the other inmates. And like I say, when you end up in a situation where you got a dormitory and there's 40 of one gang in there, then I mean, who's going to go against the gang? Who's going to go against the 40 guys? You know, not that many people. I mean, there's a lot of people that'll just go along with a lot of stuff just to save their neck, you know, and that's just what happened. I mean, it's brutal, man. Some of the stuff that I've seen that have went down, I mean, it's brutal, and I'm not some kind of, real soft person. I mean, like I say, I mean, I worked in the prisons. It ain't like I was
You've
in
seen
there.
your fair share.
Yeah, I've seen my fair share, and this stuff here is completely wrong. Like you were saying earlier, we got people that's getting killed and their face is decaying before we even find them. I found people myself that were rigor mortis set in. They were stiff. They had been dead for 20 plus hours. So
When Epstein was found dead in MDC Brooklyn, I believe it was, they ended up putting buttons at the end of the hallway, and the staff, the COs, had to do rounds every 30 minutes, go by and look at all the cells. As they got down to the end of the range, they pushed the button. It's a manual thing for them. They have to push that button every 30 minutes, come around. That way they know that they're doing their rounds and they're not just sitting in the office watching TV or on the internet,
yeah,
because a lot of people, if they can get away with doing that type of stuff at work and be like, they will, Unfortunately, we got a lot of, I don't know, man. Is there anything or any steps that you believe could be taken that could fix this situation? What would you do in order to remedy the problems that are going on in this system right now?
the first thing
If there was
the first thing would be to remove the people that are preventing something from already happening. The corrupt people, these people that are forcing people to write false reports, that are smudging these numbers, that are falsifying these documents just to make it seem like there's nothing going on and they don't need help. Those leaders, so called, they need to get out. They have obviously led it into the dirt, into the flames here. So leadership needs to change. Dang near across the board. Like it's bad in there. And a lot of these people, it ain't that they are compromised, but sometimes it is. But in a lot of cases, it's just that they don't have the competency to deal with what they're faced with. Like they take somebody that's came up through counseling, they've never been on no kind of custody side, they've never been on any kind of security side, and then they put this person as the deputy warden of security of the prison, and they don't have any kind of idea of how to manage this thing. And the people that have been in there over the last several years, they don't know what it looks like to manage something correctly anyway, because like I say, they've been in this bad situation this whole time. So get rid of the poor leadership, replace them with good leadership. There's a bunch of books out about leadership. I mean, I don't have to go into like you were saying before, one of the things is putting yourself on the line when it comes time to as a leader, and that's not what's happening right now. These people are down there in the prisons dealing with these situations up in there with 3 or 4 people. And then these other people that's in Forsyth and in Atlanta up there are writing reports, firing back at the DOJ saying, oh, no, we don't have no huge problem down here. Y'all have the same kind of problems anyway, and blah, 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 blah. And then instead of addressing the issue. So leadership, get better leadership and get some male officers in there as quickly as possible. Like they need to be in there like now. Like they need to activate National Guard or call up and say, hey, look, get on the TV. They could get on TV and say, hey, look, we are in dire straits right now. We are offering $20,000 sign-on bonuses for people that already have post officer certification that want to come in here and try to help us take control of this prison. These prisons that we've lost control of years and years ago. So they need to heavily amplify getting males in there. But that's something that they won't even come out and admit that they need males. Because like I say, they've all been so hit with this woke stuff, this DEI stuff and all this. It's like they're stuck it's like they're freezing up. They don't know what to do. Because we can't say that we need men because that's bad against women. It's like, that ain't bad against women. This is a male prison. Of course you need men up in there. This is crazy. You shouldn't even let it get to this point like it is. We got people dying by the hundreds because y'all have ran these prisons like this and got it to where no men even want to be working in there almost.
I have
Go ahead.
a good friend who is an ex-CO who had resigned from USP Victorville, and he's on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. His name goes by Geo the Legend, but good verbal, and he was basically just making memes and stuff about the feds. But he talks about the roles of female officers and certain things that they shouldn't be handling. And he has the same perspective you do. And I know it's not being sexist. It's not like, we shouldn't have to worry about stuff like that when it's situations that need, men to run it. It's not being said. It's just the truth. These guys are going to overpower these females if it's just and you said it's majority females that are working these positions now.
Heavily
So
majority. Like when I came in, it was already majority female when I came in. And from what I'm told, it wasn't like this in the 80s and in the 90s. It was majority male. And then as time has went on, they've kept introducing these things, these policies, and kept intentionally trying to push stuff that way. And it's led to, like I'm saying, it's like 90-10 now, the ratio. I mean, it's insane at some of these prisons. Like I'm saying at Johnson. I mean, that I was one of the only. Same thing at Washington. I mean, you can literally count on one hand the number of men that are working there that can pass a PT test, and everybody's supposed to have to
yeah,
pass a PT test to even be able to work there. So that just goes back into just the whole total unseriousness of the whole thing. Like they don't take themselves seriously. They don't take their officers seriously as far as a department. They don't give them the correct training, give them the tools that they need to be able to secure a prisoner. Like, and one of those tools is men at male prisons. Like, you have to have men to secure a prison. So
I'm not
they don't have
saying now, women in the audience, women listeners who are listening right now, don't think that we're sitting here being sexist, but he's been in prison as a CO. I've been in prison as an inmate, and it's really a rough environment. And I'm not saying there's not some tough broads out there that y'all ain't tough and can handle that shit, but when it's a majority of them that aren't able to be physical with these inmates when it gets violent and control the situation, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that women shouldn't be able to work in there or nothing like that. And I mean, like, there ain't nobody even ever accused me of being no kind of sexist or nothing like that. Like, I love women, man. I'm always going to try to protect women if I'm put in a position where I think they need protection.
Right.
So, but that is protecting women. What I'm saying is you can't have 5 women and 1 man running a prison with 1,300 inmates. That's insanity. You need some men there, period. You can have some females there as well, but you have to have men there for when these guys get violent. And trust me, it doesn't even matter. Like, I can give this example while we're talking about this female stuff of even numbers don't help. I saw, the only reason I saw it is from watching back on camera. But this is one of the situations, like, I wish I had this video. I would put it out everywhere just because it's a good video for people to see what this leads to. But there's already a bunch of videos out that you can see where situations are happening where female officers just can't handle physicality of people and they just get out of hand. But this situation was at Johnson. It was right before one of the other things that made me start thinking like, hey, what am I going to do? Like, this is totally wrong and we can't allow this. But this was probably 2023, early 2023, somewhere in there. They had a guy at the prison that wigged out on meth. Here we are again with another guy's been up for days, freaking hallucinating and wigging out and all this. He goes up in the barbershop at the prison through the gym. The barbershop ain't even open, but he goes into the gym while they was doing ice call, and he runs up into the barbershop and strips all his clothes off in there. He's in there. He actually left his boxers on, so he wasn't completely naked. And he's dancing and all this stuff in there. He's throwing stuff around. I mean, he's having a good time in there by himself. I mean, he ain't no telling what all's on his mind. I mean, I'm watching this back on camera. Then the officer found out about it. There was 0 male officers on compound. So there was 1 female lieutenant, a female sergeant, and 3 female officers. You made 5 on compound. So 5 females on a prison compound with 1,300 inmates, and that's it. There is no men. They were lucky that as they were going down there, they was getting ready to go down there. There was 1 male guy that was coming in on night shift because this happened late in the evening. It's like 6 o'clock in the evening. That was coming in. So that 1 male that had just started from BCOT, and he just wasn't ready for no situation like this. So those 5 females and that 1 male go in that room with this guy and try to get him. He starts bucking when they go in. They spray him with the pepper spray and shoot him with a taser. But he eats it. He eats both of them. And he grabs the female lieutenant and throws her on the ground and gets her around the neck and starts choking her. Now this the lieutenant's getting choked. All the other officers, so it's 4 females and a male, they're trying to get this guy off of her, but they can't do it. These females are hitting him and it's not doing anything to him. I mean, they don't have the physical strength to do that anyway. One of them didn't, I mean, kind of just froze up. And then the male, like I say, he just got back from BCOT. It's not registering, I guess, in his mind that like it's time to turn up the heat on this guy. Like this LT, her life was in danger. Like this dude was choking her on the floor in there, and all these people trying to get him off, and they fail. They're not able to do it. Four females and one brand new male, they couldn't do it. And this guy was a big guy, and he was high on meth too, So I mean, he's going hard. Luckily, and thank God that they did. The orderlies out on the sidewalk, the ID orderly and the barbershop orderly, and there was about 7 or 8 of them that was out there on the sidewalk. One of them saw through the window what was going on because you can see all this on camera. Saw what was going on. He looked in the window, seen that the dude had LT down there on the ground choking her, hollered out for the other guys. They all come over there. The door's locked. The inmates kicked the door in, the orderlies kicked the dang door into the barbershop and roll up in there. And I'm talking about beat that dude. They within about 3 seconds of them being in there, she was free. They snatched him up off of her and beat him all over that barbershop. It was one of the worst beatings that I ever seen. It was bad. And
Yeah,
they got me to come out there.
that's one.
Go ahead.
That's one thing as a man and like being an inmate, we don't even as an inmate, and even though it's a CO, a lot of us don't go for that beating on women shit. We just ain't gonna go for it.
Yeah.
It's a woman, you know what I mean? So we feel protective over that, even though she's a CO or whatever. And who knows what the situation entailed in that case? She didn't deserve to have that happen to her. She was just trying to do her job, but yeah, man, I hear what you're saying, dude, and
Yeah.
I hope that somebody watches this and can help you in some way. Reach out to you or whatever, and maybe be able to do something about this situation. But I'm glad I was able to cover this and put this out to everybody so they could get a sneak peek in behind the scenes of what's going on the ground floor in there from your point of view.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on, Tyler. And can you go ahead and give us your socials? That way I can put them up on the screen at the end here, and that way people can contact you or go and look at your content or whatever you got going on and maybe assist you or anything like that, man. And I really appreciate you coming on the cast and sitting down with me and telling your side of things. Man, thanks for having you on, dude. It was an honor.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for having me on, man. It was an honor on my end as well. And yeah, I mean, if anybody's out there that sees this that can help, however that may be, liking this video or sharing it or commenting, or if you know someone that can instigate some change into all this, I mean, the evidence is out there. Like this, it's pretty much like I'm not even a whistleblower. Like, because like you said, like the information is all there. Like it's right here in our face. We have a serious crisis going on here in Georgia, and it needs addressing. It has been needing addressed for well over 5 years, but we can't address it right now because anybody that tries to address it, like I did with the state, they're about to get fired. They're about to get harassed. They're about to get terminated. They're going to, I mean, all these things, they get retaliated against for trying to blow the whistle and trying to say, hey, look, this is law. We've lost control in these prisons. Like we have to have help to get this back under control. So that needs to happen. And in the meantime, we have all kind of violence and unconstitutional conditions that are a result of leaving these prisons abandoned like that. So yeah, if anybody can help me, please reach out. I'll talk to you and I'll give testimony to all kind of things and I do my part. Like as far as me, like I just want to help with this thing, really. I mean, because I know the issue, I know what's going on, I know how bad it is. I don't want it to be going on. I didn't want it to be going on while I was working in it, when it got like that. So something has to happen. And I'm here for it. The people that are leading that department right now, they're not for it. So we at odds.
Yeah, my heart really goes out to the family members of the people who have been, murdered or victims of assaults and are enslaved, like you said, and tortured because You know, they're in prison. They committed a crime. They're serving a sentence, but they shouldn't have to go through gruesome and grim circumstances like that. It shouldn't be that out of control to where they don't feel somewhat safe in
Yeah.
the environment. And also that goes for the staff as well,
Yeah.
because it's an unsafe environment for both sides.
Yeah.
So, and it's also, like I said, a public safety factor because there's not a lot of staff. If these guys decide to take control of the prison and get out and start roaming around the countryside, you know, it could be bad for some civilians as well. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know. It really needs attention. Like you said, that maybe the National Guard. I've seen the National Guard actually come in and assist with extractions at USP Lewisburg. But we're talking about the federal government. They got that kind of support from those guys,
Yeah.
the National Guard and stuff. They're trained to do extractions for situations where there's mass demonstrations like that, where we all board up and take the team. Man, but hey, if you want, go ahead and leave your social so people can get a hold of you. I believe you said it's your name at Tyler Ryals on X, which was Twitter before. So
Yeah.
and also it's your name on TikTok as well, is it not?
Yes. Both of those are the same. Or no, not on TikTok. It's Tyler Ryals X on Twitter and YouTube. That's my username. So, but it's my name with the X, capital X at the end. And then on TikTok, I have helped with a channel that is called G Expose GDC. So that's the name of the TikTok channel.
Awesome.
I've done some videos on there and continue to. But you can contact me through any of those avenues, through Twitter at Tyler Ryals X, or YouTube at Tyler Ryals X, or on TikTok at Expose GDC.
That's great. All right, buddy, man, you take it easy, and hopefully this gets the attention that it needs.
Yeah, I hope
And
so.
thank you everybody for watching and listening to Tyler tell his story, man. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.